WSK Euro Series is back on track to dispute one of the last rounds of the season. After the freezing competition of Val d'Argenton in the northern part of France, here we are at Muro Leccese on the La Conca track. This is where in 2006 the first WSK race ever took place. On the track, the 200 drivers are welcomed into a blazing hell of fire. In fact, for the third race of the Euro Series, Scipio the African was the host of the event. This anti-cyclone, surging up from the sub-Saharan part of Africa, seemed to have taken root straight above La Conca. Suffice it to say that at 10 am, temperature was around 40 degrees Celsius. The scorching heat released by the asphalt can only be imagined. While KZ1, KZ2, KF2 and KF3 series will be racing for the Euro Series 2012 title of La Conca, the mini-series will be fighting for the championship, since this will be the last race of the series. After the Sarno race, the rankings placed the Spaniard Eliseo Martinez in the lead. He won both the final and the pre-final, winning a grand total of 85 points. In second position, the American Logan Sargent with 50 points, followed by Leonardo Lorandi, the Tony Driver kart, who has 30 points. There are still 85 points to be given in this round, so anything is still possible. The ranking of the Euro Series may be shaken by this race as well, especially considering the very high temperatures which will be straining the physical and mechanical prowess of drivers and karts. In the KF3 category, Alex Palou is currently leading the rankings of a very full series. The CRG Spaniard is followed by the baby race driver Alessio Lorandi. The Italian was quite unlucky during the first part of the season, but recovered during the last race and reached a total of 85 points. Straight after them, there are other drivers at their heels: the Englishman Callum Millet, the Croatian Martin Kodrick and the Russian Nikita Sitnikov. In KF2, the most noteworthy piece of news is about Antonio Fuoco. The Italian driver decided to quit on the Morsicani Racing team and signed a contract with Cosmic to try and climb the rankings, at the top of which the Monegasque Leclerc is safely nested with a loot of 122 points. Behind him, Felice Tiene, Max Verstappen, Flavio Camponeschi and Pavel Rudakov are chasing tightly. The KZ2 ranking is the most balanced. In a 14-point span, we can find Riccardo Negro, Martin Dubek, Mirko Torsellini, Jordan Lennox-Lamb and Philip Orchik. Last but not the least, the queen of the series, with the Belgian Rick Dreesen is leading the ranks, followed by his teammate Marco Ardigot. They have the same technical means, Tony Kart, but different race performance. Close behind Ardigot, the Dutchman Jory Pax on CRG, the Dutchman Bas Lammers on Praga Kart, and the French Armand Converse on Cosmic. Now that the introduction is complete, we are ready to enter the scorching track of La Conca to follow the qualifications right after the flashback. The first to enter the track are the mini-series drivers, with Leonardo Lorandi conquering the pole position by outperforming Max Futrell. Right after them, the KF3 drivers, among which Alex Palou gets the best time during qualifications, while in the Super Pole, Callum Millett has the best performance by racing faster than the English Russell and the French Boccolacci. The very small difference in their times, a handful of hundreds of seconds, forebodes a very heated battle. It is Flavio Camponeschi who rules the KF2 qualifications. The Tony Kart driver has a hard time, though, in winning the Super Pole. This race is in fact the hunting ground of Niklas Nielsen, who records the best time, while Antonio Fuoco manages to obtain his first satisfaction with the new team. The extreme heat rules unchecked on the track. A gentle breeze brings some comfort to the drivers, but it is of no use for the times, which are more than 1 second away from the track record of all categories. Same happens for the KZ2, where Ricardo Negro manages to conquer the pole with his DR and a time which is slightly above 46 seconds. Halfway through the session, the English Lennox Lamb records a fast lap on the CRG, winning the pole position. Dylan DeVee on a PCR wins the third position. Last category to go through qualifications is KZ1. Arnaud Kozlinski and Jonathan Thenon are among the fastest among their first laps. But it's Roberto Toninelli on his Birel who conquers the pole, tightly followed by Kozlinski and Armand Converse. The Italian Tony Kart standard bearer Marco Artigot does not perform too well, and is scarcely able to end up among the first 10 positions. Once qualifications are over, we head in onto the track to check the latest installment into race safety. WSK made a huge effort to employ the Flex Electronic Signaling Panel, a technology already present in Formula 1, and which was first presented during 2008 in Singapore Grand Prix. It was studied to give better and quicker info on track conditions through an electronic signaling of the flags, which were usually flapped by race judges. The technology employed by WSK promotion was developed by the Norwegian company Traxa. It is meant to aid drivers and not to substitute flags.
Da questa terza prova della WSK Euro Series.
In this third round of WSK Euro Series, the WSK promotion introduced a new system that will integrate the work of the marshal, a system called Traxta system. The system is the same used in Formula 1, related to the world of kart. There are balusters of light that are commanded by the marshals, and by a remote control by the race direction, with an upstream control of a manager who will monitor throughout the race the operation of baluster.
Il funzionamento durante la gara di tutte queste colonnine. Abbiamo visto che comunque i piloti hanno apprezzato questo sistema che
We have seen that the driver have appreciated this system, which, I repeat, got to integrate the technical work of the marshals. The system is integrated locally with the location of marshals, but it can be used by the race director simultaneously during special procedures such as slow or red flag.
slow oppure le fasi della bandiera rossa.
The marshal have the remote control and could press the yellow flag and hold the cones, could lighting to tell the drivers there's any problem on the track. And when the problem is finished, the marshal have just to press the green one, and the whole flag could check on green, and the drivers know that the danger is finished. And all posts of the marshal have a remote and lighting system, and here you have the touch control, the race control, that you can control everything, all posts, and you can work with the race of the director of the race. So that's a new product, a new system. And it's working for Formula 1 as well, and now for karting and for the WSK.
controlli elettronici secondo me sono una buona idea.
According to me, the electronical signal device are a good idea. The only fault I have seen is that, basically, from inside the cart they are too little. They should be a little larger, because the flag is much larger than the signal. Whatever, the idea is right.
Secondo me.
È un momento importante.
This is an important moment for karting, for this new technical future of electronic flags, and of course it will be certainly implemented and improved already by next WSK races.
A partire dalle prossime gare sempre della WSK.
41 qualifying heats were ran by WSK Euro Series drivers. From Friday afternoon to Sunday morning, the drivers kept on racing under a hazy heat which put both men and machines to the test. Leonardo Lorandi dominated heats of the mini-series by winning all of the rounds. His pace proved to be too much for his adversaries, even for Remigio Garofano, whose grit and brisk pacing were undeniable. Eliseo Martinez's performance was also noteworthy, and ranked him as one of the most dangerous opponents to the Italian duo. Any foreseeing for the KF3 was impossible due to the balanced performances of the drivers. The French Boccolacci, the English Russell and Ilott, the Italians Lorandi and Corberi have all shown to have what it takes to be suitors for victory. The balanced challenge shown during the heats will no doubt turn into a breathtaking race. In the KF2, Antonio Fuoco is on fire on his new cosmic ride. The Italian driver has won all of the rounds he joined by displaying a determination which convinced even the most skeptics. His main opponents will be the Italians Camponeschi and Fioravanti, the Monegasque Leclerc, the English Barnico, the Danish Nielsen and the English Tom Joyner, who won at least one of the qualifying heats. Qualifying heats for KZ2 have shone lights upon at least 3 possible suitors to victory of the finals. The English Jordan Lennox Lamb, the Lithuanian Simas Jodvirsis, and the Italian Riccardo Nigro. All 3 of them have shown skills and determination. KZ1, the premier class, has shown outstanding balance among its drivers. Bas Lammers has confirmed his skills, even on a Praga kart. Kozlinski gained some serious advantage thanks to a wonderfully performing PCR on the La Conca track. Sauro Cesetti showed that skill does not age, and Marco Ardigo was tortured by an endless week of technical issues. Before reviewing of the pre-finals, let's enjoy some highlights of the blazing weekend in La Conca. mini-series pre-final is scheduled for Saturday afternoon. The usual grit of Leonardo Lorandi allows him to conquer the first position during the first laps. Right after him, the Venezuelan Fernando and the Italian Skid, aka Livio Sandre, who darted straight from the third row. While Lorandi forces an unforgiving pace on the race, Skid gains second position after a fault challenge among him, Francesco Delvin, Sebastian Fernandez, Eliseo Martinez and Remigio Garofano. In 3 laps, Lorandi gains a significant advantage on the opponents, so attention focuses on the battle for the second and third positions. During the third lap, Skid gives way to Martinez, Fernandez and Garofano's pressure, slipping back into 5th position. During the 6th lap out of 8, Skid's kart has a contact with an opponent's and his kart takes off, toppling on the track, likely with no consequences but some panic. While Skid was being rescued by the staff, his relatives, having seen what was happening, tossed a water bottle in the middle of the track straight to stop the race. Thanks to the staff quick intervention, the object was removed and the access to the track was forbidden to the relatives. This foolish action was sanctioned at the end of the race by the disqualification of Skid from the season. Mini pre-final comes to an end with the victory of Leonardo Lorandi on his baby race branded Tony Kart, 7 seconds ahead of Garofano and Marseglia, 2nd and 3rd places. During the first of the KF3 pre-finals, Callum Ilott on his Zanardi takes the lead by starting from the pole position. The Dino Chiesa's team English driver shows an impregnable focus, which allows him to gain several tenths of seconds on the Kodrick-Boccolacci duo. The white-hot challenge among these two allows Ilott to open the decisive gap to ensure victory. It will be the French Boccolacci to win the duo, gaining the 2nd position, leaving Kodrick in the 3rd one. And under the weather, Alessio Lorandi underperforms compared to what was expected after the qualifications. Right after the first turn, Luca Corberi, one of the suitors to the podium of the final, gets stuck on the track after contact with an opponent. No physical damage, but the rage to have wasted all of the awesome performances of the weekend. The English Russell takes the lead, and right after him we can find the English Daniel Tickton, the Spanish Alex Palou, and the Russian Nikita Sitnikov. Russell is able to gather more than 1 second, leaving his opponents to bicker for the other positions. During the 8th lap out of 16, Palou overtakes Tickton, who was in 2nd position and whom is again passed by Sitnikov 2 laps later. The impressive performance by Lorenzo Trevisanuto is worth mentioning. By starting out as 24th, he ends up 11th. In the end, Russell closes the race more than 6 seconds away from Palou, 2nd, and Sitnikov, 3rd. The last pre-final is the KF2s. Long awaited for the suitors to the podium, this race featured Antonio Fuoco in a more than deserved pole position, Damiano Fioravanti on his Tony Kart in 2nd position, and behind them Flavio Camponeschi on Tony Kart and Felice Tiene on CRG. All of them are Italians. When the light turns green, a feral dash forward by Fuoco allows him to maintain his 1st position. Right after him, Camponeschi, Nielsen and Dubsky, while Fioravanti drops into 5th position. Fuoco forces an unsustainable pace for anybody else and starts grinding tenths of seconds on his adversaries. Camponeschi is also able to somehow gain some advantage on his opponents, leaving Danish Nielsen, Spanish Hilfbrand and Polish Dubsky to fight for the 3rd position. Slightly detached, the Monegasque Leclerc, whose kart suffered from some technical shortcomings due to the epic hazy heat. Camponeschi and Fuoco are too far away though, to hope for a higher position. Fuoco wins the race in front of Camponeschi and Hiltbrand. The performance by the young Dutch Max Verstappen is noteworthy. Starting from the 7th row, he started passing anybody on his path until turning up in 5th position, where he was forced to abandon the race due to the technical problems to his Intrepid car 2 laps before the end. 2 finals took place during Saturday. They were the ones for the KZ1 and KZ2 series. During the first one, Ricardo Negro gains the first position by exploiting the pole position. Behind the DR driver, the English Lennox Lamb, quite well performing throughout 2012, and the Lithuanian Sismas Žultversis, who seems to be peculiarly fond of the La Conca track. It is the latter who will end up fighting with the Dutch Dylan de Vie, particularly proficient driving his PCR kart. It takes Lamb 9 laps to close the gap with Negro and to overtake him by exploiting his obvious drop in performance, which will cause him to slip from the 1st to the 5th position. After having overtaken de Vie, Žultversis gains the 2nd place, while Lamb wins the 1st position in the first final. 3rd is de Vie on PCR. In the KZ2 final, things take strange twists. Right off the bat, Bas Lammers and Arnaud Kozlinski fight each other without pity, with Kozlinski getting the upper hand first, and having to face a duel with Lammers later. After 4 laps, a contact between the two of them, right before the Variante Senna, forces Bas Lammers to retire due to problem to his Praga kart, while Kozlinski is nearly unscathed, but for a slight delay which allows Rick Drazen to overtake the French in a handful of hundreds of meters. Once in the lead, Drazen forces a devilish pace on the race. Roberto Toninelli turns up in 3rd position and engages Kozlinski, with whom a pretty fought head-to-head takes place. All of the twists to the ranking crash in 3 laps to the end. Rick Drazen, alone in the lead, is forced to quit the race due to technical issues with his Tony kart, leaving Kozlinski and Toninelli in the top positions. In the same lap, the latter finds the breach in Kozlinski's defense and overtakes him, only to see a sign giving him a 10 seconds penalty due to an early start. This is where Kozlinski stops risking and keeps his 2nd position, which turns into a 1st position when he reaches the finish line. 2nd position goes to Dutch Joe Repax and a 3rd one to the Dutch Simo Puaka, thanks to a 10 seconds penalty for early start given to Marco Ardigo. Sunday starts with the mini-final. This is the last race for the mini-series, which will decide the winner among the younger drivers. Leonardo Lorandi was the absolute star of the weekend and will be starting from the 4th position. With the 35 points he earned in the pre-final, he is just 20 points away from Eliseo Martinez, who will be starting his race from the 8th row. Next to Lorandi, we can find Remigio Garofano, another interesting talent whose growth is interesting and rapid. From the 2nd row, Leonardo Marceglia and Devlin De Francesco are ready for a battle without regrets or remorse. Lorandi does not allow his opponents to surprise him and gains the 1st position in front of Marceglia, Patrick Schott and Garofano. Martinez gains 2 positions from 16th to 14th after the 1st lap. Lorandi has an easy time ruling the race. Once in the lead, the baby race driver is flawless. He is precise in his trajectories, consistent in his lap times, and always updated on Martinez's position in the race, who, in turn, is plotting through a not easy comeback. In the 2nd lap, he goes from 14th to 9th, and in the 4th lap, he is 8th. The overtake does not require a long time. 2 laps to the end of the race, Garofano overtakes Marceglia. During the last lap, on the paddock band, Lorandi finds a lapped opponent on his trajectory. This slows him down and allows Garofano to be within reach for a last takeover. Lorandi wins by only 6 thousandths of seconds on Garofano, 2nd, and by 2/10 of seconds on Marceglia, 3rd place.
I don't know why, but a slow one card tried to make me get 2nd. The last corner was very intense because I found that slow cart practically stopped me and I had to brake. Remigio came near me, he was about to overtake me, but I managed to win. It was a sprint finish and we are very pleased.
It is hard, maybe impossible, to foresee the outcome of the KF3 final due to the high level of skill and unpredictability of the pre-finals. English Callum Ilott will be starting from the pole position. The Dina Chiesa driver rides a pretty competitive Zonardi. At his side, the English George Russell on the Intrepid card branded by the Forza Racing team. From the second row, the Intrepid of the French Dorian Boccolacci, one of the suitors to the victory, and the Spanish Alex Palou. When the lights turn green, Callum Ilott is unsurprised and keeps his head straight by taking the lead. After him, we can find Boccolacci, Kodrick, Russell and Sergeant Dalton. Ilott tries to run away with his loot, but the best drivers of the series are on the hunt and are able to hamper his frenzy and limit his dreams. In fact, on the third lap, Boccolacci overtakes Ilott by placing his Intrepid in front of the English Zanardi. The brawl for the third position is open, and Kodrick, Russell and Dalton are its stars. Alessio Lorandi tries to keep in touch with the head group, and he turns up 7th during the second lap and 5th during the 6th lap. Boccolacci looks reachable for the first few laps, but after that his pursuers are left without any strength to try and fight him for the first position. So the race ends with Boccolacci safely first at a distance from the opponents. Kodrick ends up second and the third place goes to Ilott after a sprint on the last straight where Alessio Lorandi challenges him. The latter will end up fourth, just 0.010 of seconds away from Ilott. On the podium, Boccolacci, Kodrick and Ilott show their happiness for the outcome of an amazing and exciting final.
Je suis parti en troisième
I started
position.
third, then I passed second behind Callum. I waited a moment and then I took the initiative and I passed him.
Plus vite que Callum. Donc, j'ai pris la ligne.
Then I focused on pushing as much as possible to create a margin.
Je suis concentré à être régulier sur mes tours pour faire le.
I'm very happy because it's my first victory in WSK,
Ce qui s'est passé.
an international race in which I represented France.
À WSK et en international aussi. Et je suis fier de représenter la France. Et voilà.
The KF2 drivers are ready on the grid. Those who adventure into the shaky ground of portending, they utter only one name, Antonio Fuoco. His opponents, instead, dare to challenge these predictions, starting from Flavio Camponeschi on Fuoco's side, the Spanish Hildebrand and the Monegasque Leclerc. But when the race starts, every preparation by the other drivers seems useless. Fuoco takes the lead and streaks a series of perfect and fast laps, which turn off the hopes of victory for the other drivers. The challenge lives on for the second and third positions, an amazing duel which will keep Leclerc of our Grand Prix and Camponeschi on Tony Kart busy for 13 laps, when the Monegasque driver is able to overtake the Italian and end up second. Noteworthy performance by Marco Maestranzi, 5th, while a wonderful comeback by the Dutch Max Verstappen enlightens the back alleys of the race. Due to technical issues during the last lap of the free final, Verstappen was forced to start the race from the 27th position and managed to end up 10th on the finish line. After the podium, we managed to get Fuoco on our microphones for a brief interview.
We were competitive from the start. This exchange of team had facilitated me a lot and I managed to win since the first race. We will try to give the maximum as well in the other races that have remained and see how it goes.
The last two finals were dedicated to the KZ2 and KZ1 series. KZ2 starts with Jode Versista in pole position and Jordan Lennox Lamb at his side. It is the Lithuanian who grasped the first position, while Marcus Zanchetta gains second position from the third row. Third place is temporarily occupied by the Dutch Dylan de Vie. The race is shaken to the bones by intervention of Ricardo Nigro. The DR pilot, who started from the 8th position, is the star of an outstanding performance. During the second lap, he is 4th. During the 5th, he turns up 2nd. Jodversis may look too far away, but not to Negro. He munches away second after second until he reaches the Lithuanian. 3 laps to go, and Negro conquers the first position and won't let go of his long-soaked prey until the end of the race. Dylan DeVee ends second, while Jodversis slips back into third position. The last final on the schedule is the KZ1 Series one. Jury Pax and Kozlinski will be starting for the first row, while Cesarii and Toninelli are behind them on the second one. Kozlinski takes the lead of the race when the engines finally roar. Behind him, Jury Pax, Roberto Toninelli, Sauro Cesarii, and Armand Converse. Kozlinski tries to take the highway while a contact between Cesarii and Converse forces the Italian driver to quit, while the podium positions look unbreachable. But after half of the laps have gone by, Bas Lammers starts mowing his adversaries and begins his comeback. Starting from the 6th position, the Praga team driver overtakes all of the opponents but Kozlinski. It is Kozlinski himself who, failed by his kart, has to quit the race and present Lammers with his prize, the first position. But there's a shock in store for Lammers. In fact, the cameras have recorded him overtaking an opponent while the yellow flags were flapping. The podium is thus given to Jury Pax, Roberto Toninelli and Armand Converse. At the end of the third round of the WSK Euro Series, the rankings say that in the KF3 Series, the Spanish Alex Palou is first with 146 points, the English Callum Elliott is second with 131 points, the Croatian Martin Kodrick is third with 110 points. In KF2, the Monegasque Charles Leclerc leads with 162 points, followed by Antonio Fuoco with 87 points and by Flavio Camponeschi with 76 points. In KZ2, Riccardo Negro is in the lead with 126 points. Second place is occupied by English Jordan Lennox Lamb with 94 points, and third is Lithuanian Seamus Jodversis with 93 points. In KZ1, the Dutch Jury Pax is on the highest step of the ranking with 124 points. Directly below him, the Belgian Rick Drazen with 106 points, and third is Armand Converse with 78 points. The final rankings of the mini-series confirms Leonardo Lorandi as the winner of the 2012 season with 115 points. The Spanish Eliseo Martinez ends up second with 95 points. Third is the American Logan Sargent with 61 points. The last round of the Euro Series 2012, where the destiny of these drivers will be written, is going to take place on the Spanish track of Zuera next 5th of August.